Hello, everyone, and we are Friday, June 2nd. We're a couple hours from the close, so this is going to serve as the weekend update as well, although I am anticipating a couple adjustments that I'll show you in a moment. I want to start off with the good news. So this is our equity curve since the service started on back in December 1st. Again, most of our trades we try to keep in the $1,000 to $2,500 in max risk. So this is very nice. So that's the good news, and then we can look at the this is the bar chart that, of course, shows every trade and the P&L of every trade. This is the one that we closed out here recently on RUT, and this, of course, is the actual list of the trades here. Um, so all that's good stuff. However, these were all put on in an environment where volatility was higher. We were getting some decent market swings, things along those lines. Now, for the not so good news, we need to take a look at our current positions. So I can't say there's any horrible trauma here, with the possible exception of this calendar, but it's a more challenging environment to continue to use butterflies in trading when you have the significant market up moves. And the worst case scenario you can have is a significant market up move where you open up your downside because you're adjusting to the upside, and then you get a huge whipsaw back the other direction. So the takeaway here is the plan is going to be to kind of keep things light until we see where the market is going to settle out after this most recent announcement. If we look at a chart of the SPX, I mean, it definitely broke out of the triangle here. There's no doubt about it. We were making this wedge that was a higher lows, and it wasn't quite making higher highs. It peaked up a little bit here, but then it couldn't make a higher high for the longest time here. Then it finally did go up and kind of hit these old highs, but it instantly fell off it. And now, of course, we have punched through it. Now, earlier today, I will say that I made a comment that our volume was definitely high. I was looking at the wrong bar, just to be clear. I was looking at this bar right here, right beside the big red bar, and that bar would have been very high for the day to date. However, I guess the start of the day was actually down here behind this little symbol. So today's volume isn't real high. So that tends to sometimes indicate that this is not a move that is backed by institutions and big money. And oftentimes that means it is not going to be a sustainable big move. Again, all that said, if we are going to be entering the environment of uptrending market and lower volatility, we have to reset our expectations from an income standpoint. Because we're just not going to be able to get as much juice into most of these trades. And the kiss of death can sometimes be to try to size those trades to larger size so that you can make the same amount of money. And then when the market does go against you, you might get 1, 2, 3 months where, okay, you've now done a much bigger size butterfly, for example, and in order to get the same X amount you get out of that. And again, that works right up till it doesn't. And when it doesn't, that can be a big ouch. So just keep that in the back of your minds. This is part of the process of learning to trade and learning what you can and can't expect from given trades. So we have rallied up without a doubt, but it is in a little bit weaker volume than what I had thought this morning. It is right into some prior resistance. So if we look at this particular range here, this roughly call it 4,300 range, we basically pulled back to that. It was support here, it was support here, it was support temporarily here, then blasted through, and then it came back, then that was resistance there, blasted through. But what I look for in technical analysis is kind of like if you're familiar with, I think psychologists use something called a Rorschach test or something like that, where you look at a big picture and is there anything in that big picture that stands out at you? That's about as far as my technical analysis goes in most cases. And the thing that stands out to me is there is a line here around that 4,300 mark that has been a little bit of a indecision point in our markets. So that's really all I'm looking at here. Does that mean this won't blow right through it? No, it does not. So again, my suspicion is that it's at least going to slow the markets down temporarily. So what are we going to do about our current positions? Now, I will end up putting out separate alerts on these. I'm going to look at adjusting this one, but as I mentioned yesterday, there just really wasn't a whole lot to do with this one other than maybe doing what I think it was Robert did and pulling the plug on it yesterday. Good move. Hats off to you. But anyhow, so I don't know. I'm going to look at it, but I don't think there's anything that can be done on this one this late in the game. This one's still far enough out. While I have a planned, potential thing we can do here, I'm not convinced I want to do that yet. And we don't have a huge amount of upside risk in this. So while I've got some things that I kind of penciled out, I really don't think I'm going to deal with that. So anyhow, I'll get into the rest of these here in a moment. So look for a separate message from me, but I will probably look at doing something, this one. There really isn't much we can do here. I'm just going to essentially pull this wing up, turn this into a flat fly that's basically going to be a scratch. It's going to be a break even, and I'm going to let it set there just in case we might get a pullback here. But I'm not going to count on really any income from this trade or any loss for that matter to speak of. And of course, it will remove any margin that we've got tied up in it. So anyhow, look for the couple videos on these other trades, but that's largely the weekend update at this point. And again, I'll put out updates on these couple that we do need to consider some changes to. That's it, and we'll talk to you later. Have a great weekend, everyone.